WiTCH, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you're watching another episode of Every Which Way. And this time, I'm so excited for you crystal lovers out there because I just interviewed the super awesome, kick-ass Hibiscus Moon. For those of you who don't know who Hibiscus Moon is, she teaches crystal healing at the Hibiscus Moon Crystal Academy, and she's published a book called Crystal Grids: How and Why They Work. And before I let this interview roll, I have to say that I unintentionally started a little bit of drama on our YouTube community on my other channel, which is Major Arcana TV, when I posed a question asking about the ethics of crystals, and I got some very passionate answers, and people kind of settled into two different camps, and there was some arguing going on, and so I thought the best thing to do about this was go straight to Hibiscus Moon, who we all know and love as a crystal expert, and ask her what she thinks. And she is on fire in this interview. She has so much to say, and I hope that this interview helps put your mind at ease or helps you maybe come to some conclusions about what you personally feel are the ethics of collecting crystals. Enjoy! Hello, Hibiscus Moon. Welcome to Every Which Way.
Thank you, and I am so grateful to you for inviting me to do this. I'm really excited.
It's an honor. I know in the circles that I run on the internet, everybody loves you, Stephanie, aka Hibiscus Moon. You're like the go-to woman for crystals, and there's been a lot of conversation about crystals lately in the air, so I couldn't wait to talk to you.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit of that, and I wanted to jump in there in the ring and throw my hat there too. And I've actually had a blog post sitting on my blog for a couple years now, and debated and added to it as I continue to research on the topic. But the perfect timing that you put out a video, and so I do subscribe to your channel, and someone pointed it out to me, and I went there and looked at it, and I was like, oh, and I wanted to do a video response right then and there, but I was like, okay, I need to get my thoughts together. I need to do some more research because I'm in no way an expert on the topic. But when you emailed me about it, I jumped and I was like, yes, we need to discuss this.
Awesome. And I wasn't trying to like take a chink out of crystal business because I love crystals. And I have them all over my house, but I had read a passage that was talking about basically the ethics of crystals, and it totally put a million questions in my head. So I just posed the question, and the most passionate video responses came from people who have crystal shops.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, let's go to the top of the food chain here and talk to the crystal shop lady. And I know you say you don't have any hard answers, but that you're doing research. Can you maybe share a little bit of where you're at right now with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place with this stuff, but okay, I did see passionate answers to your video because I read through all the ones that were there at the time I looked at the video, coming from both directions. Mm-hmm. Both people that were really against mining of crystals and minerals and said, yeah, they agreed with the author of that book, and I hadn't read the book. However, that argument that the book brought forth is an old argument as far as, this was actually something that the students in my graduate studies geology classes would bring up regarding the collection of minerals in geology classes.
You're a science teacher. Let's just throw that out there for people who don't know.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. And so we would kind of discuss that a little bit, and ever since I've been selling crystals online, which I've been doing formally for a little over 3 years now, people would every once in a while throw this question out at me about, don't you feel bad about what you're doing to the earth and that kind of thing. So I think there's a big misconception out there, and especially if the way you worded it, and I know you read that passage directly out of the book, and I believe it said something to the effect of raping the planet, blasting the crystals out of the earth, Okay, I think there's a big misconception as to how crystals and mineral collectors, and when I say mineral collectors, I'm not talking about ore minerals. I'm not talking about copper used in wiring for homes and aluminum and tin, industrial use minerals. And that's a whole nother ball of wax. And I know in discussing back and forth, you and I shared a couple of videos and things that I had researched. And I would really love it if you think it's possible we could put those down in the informational box below the video.
It was great information. I just love crystals. So getting to see, I've never found a crystal in nature. I hope to one day. I don't know if it's where I live or what, but getting to see them like pull the crystals out of the earth by hand, that was really fascinating. There was one video, I guess we'll do a little promo for these other videos.
Yeah, because I want to put them, I'd love to give resources, and I want people to get educated and see for themselves, because people, I think, are building up this image in their mind, especially when an author writes a passage like that, that may not necessarily be the reality. But go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. I love what you have to say about this. I'll just throw out one of the videos talked about how they found a clever way to mine quartz. They would like light it on fire basically, or build a fire on top of it. And in the morning they would throw water on it after it had heated up overnight, and it would crack into like a whole bunch of pieces. And then they just took the pieces, and I don't know. I just thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, lots of interesting, it's good when people can get in there and see how most miners, and this is not all, but most mineral miners are hand mining. And there are sites where they have to what we call microblast the pegmatite. Pegmatite is like a big congregation of minerals and crystals in a big rock. And you're not going to get it by, scratching away at it with a little rake. Like you might do at Ron Coleman's mine. You rake away the clay and the crystals will be right there in the clay. Pegmatite would be a tough rock to get into, and they might have to microblast it. Now that sounds violent when you say the word blast. But microblast, and there's a video that you can look at that, they put these small explosives into the rock and they hit the little trigger, I don't know what it is, and it cracks the rock in half. So now they can move the rock away with the pickaxes and the material and get in at the at crystals. But these are not deep pockets. These are like surface pockets. They may have had to clear away trees to get to these areas. This is usually done, by the way, on someone's private land. So it's not going to be like in a national forest. Now, there are miners that do know where there are pockets in national forests where they are allowed to dig. And they're required to put the earth back after they've dug out whatever they wanted to dig. There was a video, I think, also that I sent you where they're going into a mountain to get quartz in Brazil. And they do have to go deep in there. The mountain looks beautiful from the outside. You'd never even know. There's like a little crevasse where they go in, and the guy has the camera on, and he's like, this is how we go in. And it's very difficult to find. And then once they go in there, they may have blasted holes within the mountain to create like a mine to go in there. However, from the research that I've done, when you have deep pocket mining or areas where have used large dynamite explosives, and when I say large, we're clearing away literally like meters of land or yards. In science we like to use meters, but we're not talking about miles of land like they do when they're clearing away for coal or aluminum or copper. And I'm not even going to discuss those too much, because that's industrial mining, and that's a whole different ball of wax, and that's a whole other discussion. But when we're talking about getting at mineral collecting, the kind of minerals, tourmalines and jaspers that we want to collect, either they're a byproduct of an industrial ore, where they've already done major copper mining in Arizona. And by the way, the state of Arizona was built on mining of copper, which we're all heavily reliant on copper. We're talking right now because of copper wiring. And copper is heavily mined in Arizona. Because they did all that mining, as a byproduct, we get all kinds of beautiful copper-derived minerals like chrysocolla and turquoise and, basically a lot of the deep blue and green colors, malachite, azurite, those are copper-derived minerals. but nobody went blasting into anything for those minerals. They're just not worth it. To us, they're worth it, but not to the big companies and corporations, and not for mass production. What drives this mass production is the other things that we do.
Right.
And that brings me to the point of, okay, I've been harping about this for a long time. I said, we want to talk about the destruction that mining for minerals cause. Let's talk about conflict minerals and not quartz crystal and amethyst, because quartz crystal and amethyst, as far as I've known, and by the way, preparation for this, I've been bugging, and they probably want to kill me right now. I've been on my geology message boards bothering them all day with, back and forth, like, come on, isn't there somewhere where they blasted huge tracts just for mineral collecting or just for crystals? And they're like, what is wrong with you? What is going on?
Clearly they don't want YouTube.
Pestering them, and I have yet, and this is going back years, I'm telling you, I have yet to find where they've done it just for the minerals that we're using. But yet, when people bring it up in the metaphysical community, for some reason, there's a sect of people who are environmentalists, and I consider myself an environmentalist, but there's a sector of people that want to bash on the people that like the crystals and tell them, swat, that's bad, get away, don't mess with those because you're raping the planet. And I wanted to say
too that you donate a part of your proceeds to the National Wildlife Federation and the Humane Society. So, just backing that up.
I do. I donate to a lot of different charities. I don't talk about it a lot. I put it in my newsletter. And one charity that I really like a lot is kiva.org.
Oh, yes.
And and that gives loans to families who might be working in areas where they're impoverished, like in the Congo. And this segues great into my next point. If we want to talk about the raping of the planet for minerals, then let's all throw our computers into the landfill and your cell phones too, because that is the big problem. And I've been bringing this up on my blog every once in a while, not a lot, or on Facebook mainly. And nobody cares. When I say nobody cares, what I mean by that is I'll post other things, fun things, which is usually what I'm all about. And people are probably kind of surprised about me right now, but when I post something serious like that, it gets ignored. And I'm really hoping that we can bring some light to this situation. There's an organization, their logo is Enough, and it's about bringing light to the Congo and what's going on there. Not only about the raping of the people, the raping of the land over blood diamonds. Push that aside. I'm sure everybody knows about that, and I don't condone that at all. Yes, okay, everyone's going to say I am wearing a diamond. I am, because my husband got that for me before we ever had a clue what diamonds cause to the earth, and I'm not going to throw it away. What waste of so much energy and people's lives and everything. It's there, I have it, and that's it. But I would never, ever, ever put one dime again towards getting a diamond for anybody. But anyway, so there's gold, tin, tungsten, and I always forget the name of this mineral. It starts with a T, tantalum. I wrote it down here so I wouldn't forget it. Those four minerals are what compose the innards of computers and cell phones, iPads, all those things. And there's a big organization. There's a video that I hope we can link to and get people to pass it along. There's a website you can go to see if your electronics are conflict-free. By the way, none of these electronics that we use are conflict-free. There's not a one. There are certain companies that are better, making better efforts, like Dell. I would like to give props to Dell, that are making an effort towards trying to get away from the conflict minerals. But if you're on an Apple or LG, those aren't so great. And there's things you can do. You can go on the website and actually send emails to the companies requesting that they stop using those minerals. There's other technologies, other things they can do, and not use those conflict minerals coming from the Congo, because you have to watch that video. I'm not going to get all into it, but the environmentalists that are worried about blasting the land, that's what you got to look at. That's where you're going to see huge, ugly tracts of land blasted away to get at the minerals.
And you sent me a resource. I think we're talking about the same thing, raisehopeforcongo.com or .org. And that is an amazing little tool they've given you where they have a rating system for the different electronics you use. I think they feature the 21 top companies that people use. And then it also does, like you said, it has a little button where it's like, if you use this computer and you don't like their practices, write them a letter and tell them right now. So I'll definitely link to that as well.
Okay, good, because people really need to find out, and it's not just that. There's war going on over these minerals, because then the thugs that basically control the areas where these minerals are being mined are trading them for guns and grenades, so they can continue whatever, and the government's not very strong there. There's raping going on of women and children over this. There's such atrocities going on.
And that's what their rating's based on, right? It's their conflict-free or something like that is their rating system.
Yeah, they based it on whether or not these companies are getting their minerals, using those minerals, either whether they're using the minerals in their technology or if they're getting their minerals from other places other than, if they're able to prove they're getting them from other places other than the Congo. Because it's difficult to prove. They'll mix those minerals in with other minerals, and then it's hard to find the tin or the tungsten. And, we use tungsten in our light bulbs, too, incandescent light bulbs. So, that's another reason to use the other kind of bulbs. But anyway, I'm getting totally off topic now.
Oh, no, your inner teacher is just shining through right now. I love it. You're a science teacher, and you teach geology, or you did. Are you still teaching?
No, well, I am to my adult students, yeah. Geology is learning part of the geology is part of the crystal healing. And we're going to be doing an advanced level course where we get more into the geology, so you learn how to identify crystals, but no longer to the younger students. I moved to doing this full time. But, okay, and I know that there probably some people are thinking about, okay, what about the almandine garnets that we get in India? There might be some maybe child labor going on there for people, where they're having people go into the mines to get the garnet out. But, and there's no way we're ever going to know that. There might be some poor conditions there health-wise, in the mine or whatever. There's no way we're ever going to know that unless someone went there themselves and mined it themselves. And yes, I do, and other people have connections with the hand miners themselves. And I love when I go to Tucson and I can meet a hand miner. And when you've met a hand miner, they're just like a cartoon character right out of a cartoon, like Yosemite Sam or something. They actually got the dirty fingernails worked down to the nub, and they go into the mine and they get it out, and they'll have pictures of everything that they did. But we're not there with them. We don't know exactly what goes down when they go in the mine. But those hand miners are not using huge, tracts of land, because it's not necessary. They're usually growing in a vein or a small pocket relatively close to the earth. The really, really deep crystals that would require what I consider to be raping of the planet, which is being done for other things, but we already talked about that, is not being done for the minerals we're using. The minerals we're using in crystal healing, as I said before, is usually a byproduct of the other mining. So there's a term called the miner's lunchbox, where the guys who worked in the copper mines would do their work, with the copper, whatever they're mining, and then they'd find like a really pretty malachite or azurite, and when the boss wasn't looking, put it in their lunchbox, and they'd have a collection amassed. And now the copper mining at one particular mine that I visited when I was in Arizona, they mined all the copper out of the mountain. So nobody even goes there anymore. It's like a big tourist spot now. Now they bring tourists in and out to see how they mined and everything like that. But those minerals were a byproduct of that. Nobody went blasting into the mountain just specifically. So no one should feel bad, like you should feel bad when you're eating a can of tuna and you've killed a bunch of bottlenose dolphin. That you should feel bad about. But no one should feel bad that they're wearing a chrysocolla pendant that someone went and knocked down a mountain to get it, because they didn't knock down the mountain to get that, because they would think that the person was crazy. No one would fund that.
What you're saying reminds me. it reminds me of Snow White's Seven Dwarfs with their little, I don't know if you remember the original Disney version, but it had all the little glowing crystals sticking out when they were doing their mining. And also what you're saying makes me think of, especially people that follow Native American traditions. They'll say, use the whole animal. If you're going to kill the animal for the meat, they'll wear their fur, or they'll make jewelry with the antlers or tools and things like that. And I don't know why that popped into my head, but it kind of seemed relevant.
True. And I'm not saying that mining for crystals doesn't harm the planet at all and doesn't leave its scars, because it certainly does. I mean, you have to clear away some of the trees, some of the brush, and if people own the land, like Ron Coleman does, he owns a mine, he's cleared away huge tracts of land, maybe like a few acres at a time of trees, and then backhoed so that people can get into the clay and then do their digging and find their quartz. They've done this in Georgia. So I'm not saying it's not scarring the land. It is. But if you left that land alone for a couple of years, succession would take over. You probably would not be able to find the area where they were mining. And by succession, I mean seeds are going to come in and sprout, and erosion's going to take place. And, if it happens to be an earthquake area, that's going to you're never going to find where you were before with that pocket of crystals. And there's new pockets of crystals forming deep within the earth that we can't even access. And they'll eventually make their way up to the surface long after we're gone, because we're not going to be here forever. We're not that successful of a species. We're always so enchanted by how clever we think we are and how special we are. We've been here for less than 1 million years in our current form. And compare us to a shark or something way more successful who's been here unchanged, unevolved, basically meaning that they're pretty much perfect, like an alligator, for well over 100 million years. We're like the new kid on the block, so we're scratching at the earth, and I'm not saying that it's right, okay? I'm not saying that. But long after we're gone, our scarring up is going to be, history. You've probably seen that show where After Humans or something like that,
yes.
everything grows over, and I'm not saying that it's right to do that. However, there are other things that we do. Urbanization is way more destructive than going through, an acre of land and looking for pockets or veins and moving the surface, even microblasting the surface with the little sticks to get the pegmatite to break open. People might not like that. And I can't defend that.
Do you have any advice for those of us who want to go find our own crystal in nature? This is something I have no idea how to even begin to find a crystal in nature. Does it depend on where you live, or where do you go in search of these things?
Yeah, absolutely. For someone so interested in crystals like myself, I live in the absolute wrong place.
Oh.
I'm in Florida, and Florida is very young, geologically young, so it's way too young, and I'm on a coral bed. I live on an old coral bed, so I'm never going to find any crystals here. But if you go to places and you do a little research, like some of these videos that hopefully we'll be able to post, if people are interested in mining their own, in Georgia and Arkansas, Georgia, you can find beautiful amethyst. If you're looking for places in South America, there's lots of places where you can go look for gorgeous geodes and actually find them yourself. There's a video I just saw the other day of someone in Georgia. She put an umbrella in the ground, her little beach chair, and she had a rake. And she was just gently scratching at the clay, and she found the most beautiful amethyst. She wasn't sweating or anything. She was just sitting there under her umbrella, scratching away, and the most gorgeous amethyst was just sitting right there because Mama Earth pushed that amethyst up, and it was ready to be found. Now, not all crystals are found that easily. You're going to see in some of the videos that people are going down and digging, but very few hand miners. And by the way, there's a code of ethics amongst rock hounds. And yeah, there's going to be people that don't follow the code of ethics, but there's that in anything, right? You have people who don't do what they're supposed to do and don't follow the rules. But the code of ethics is if you made a scar or a hole, put the earth back. Make it look presentable and aesthetically pleasing so that when the other guy comes along, it's not, an eyesore. But like I said, again, usually most of these eyesores, Mama Earth fixes it up in the next storm or, the next season, the next snow thaw. I mean, you think about it, ice forming in a crevasse, which is like a crack in a rock, when that ice crystallizes and becomes a crystal, because that's what it does when it freezes, it's going to crack that rock in half, and the miners love that because thank you, Mother Earth just cracked the pegmatite for me. Now I can go in deeper and hand mine out that crystal. So when you're using a microblaster, that's what you're doing, is you're mimicking the action of the ice cracking those rocks. When you tumble stones, you're mimicking Mother Earth's tumbling action in a river. And, I think I might have said in your, and I'm just, things are popping into my head and I'm just going with it. But I think I might have said in my response to your video, and I'm not likening it to this 100%, but we have farmland everywhere where we've removed trees so we can even organic farm and grow our food. And that we need. We need food to survive. We don't need crystals to survive. But the amount of earth that we're moving around to find these is minuscule compared to the urbanization and the farming activities and definitely the conflict minerals. That's the biggest thing. We don't need the conflict minerals, and there's alternatives. If we fight with the power of consumerism to change that, there's no reason why that should be happening. And I'm not trying to shift concern over to something else because obviously I'm biased. I sell crystals and I teach people about crystal healing. That's obvious elephant in the room, okay? But I'm not going to passionately defend something, and I'm always very open-minded. I'm not going to passionately defend something that's obviously wrong, and I don't see this as obviously wrong. And I still have yet to find anyone who can show me where major destruction and blasting is happening specifically for minerals and not for ore. And ore is just a mineral that's being mined for industrial purposes. Or diamonds, that's like a huge other thing, and yeah, I'm not going to touch that.
Well, I appreciate that you went looking, and since you're talking about healing, I guess we should shift gears and talk about the healing properties of crystals, or what you believe to be the healing properties of crystals, and how you're teaching other people to do this for themselves. And I think also, are you training people to be healers with clients and things like that?
Yeah, I certify people in the art and science of crystal healing because I feel very strongly, and so do many other people, that crystals have healing properties. They work with us so well. And I think one of the people that actually responded to your original video had something to say about that. So many of us have a positive interaction with crystals and a positive feeling from working with them that I feel it's something that Mother Earth wants us to work with and feel. And I notice a huge attraction going on, especially in this last year, of people wanting to learn more about crystals and work with crystals more. Huge attraction of people that over and over and over again keep saying, I love crystals. I don't know how and what to do with them, but I love them, and I just started getting into them. And all of a sudden, I don't know what it is, I'm just so into them, and they're really, really attracted to them, and people can feel the energy coming off of them. And they're amazing. They're amazing. Their energy is beautiful because they're made within the planet. Mother Earth is making these, it's almost like a tree that flowers and then fruits. The fruit is the epitome of that being, and it's the highest vibration of that being. Well, it's as if the minerals are the epitome of Mother Earth and the highest vibration of Mother Earth, and people can really feel that and connect with that. And I feel that Mother Earth wants us to work with them. When she's pushing them up closer and closer to the surface, these are the ones that she wants us to go ahead and have, just like the peach tree has created that peach, not for it to fall on the ground and rot.
That's a beautiful analogy. Do you believe that there is something specific? I feel like they have a holographic structure, if I'm not mistaken. Do you think there's something specifically healing about crystals or all rock?
Yeah, specifically with crystals. Or anything that has a cryptocrystalline formation. What I'm saying by that is a crystal has a perfectly geometrically aligned atomic structure, an atomic blueprint. That's what makes a crystal a crystal. It has this crystal lattice within it. The atoms are set up in a geometrically perfect lattice, and that's what a crystal is. So that allows a crystal to have a very stable vibration and not vary in its vibration very easily like we do. We vary very easily. That's why our moods can change. We get stressed out easily because we have so many different base resonant frequencies in us. And although we are made of partly liquid crystal, we're not 100% crystal, so we're not geometrically perfect, whereas a crystal is.
Is that why you think people ascribe specific correspondences to specific crystals? Is because they're stable, and so maybe all lapis lazuli are good for opening up, your third eye, or all rose quartz is good for love, or do you not even subscribe to that belief at all?
I say that belief goes with about probably maybe 90% of the population, where rose quartz for about 90% of the population will be good for love and compassion for most people. However, because we're each individuals, we have our own vibrational frequency that's slightly different from someone else's, and vibrational frequencies are all about resonance. Frequencies resonating, meaning that you've got a wave here and a wave here, and when those waves meet up, those vibrations meet up, if they're a little bit off, you're not going to resonate. But if they're perfect, you're going to resonate. So for most people, they're going to resonate with the love and the compassion in rose quartz. But for some people, and this is why when we read a book and we read a certain correspondence for a certain crystal, and for most people it works, but some people go, you know what, I work with that rose crystal and I don't get that at all. I get this. That's why. Because for them personally, their vibrational frequency is just slightly different, and everybody's is slightly different from each other's. So crystals are going to work differently for people, mostly the same for a majority, but to really know for yourself how a crystal works with you, you should work with it personally and find out for yourself, because for everybody it's going to be slightly different. So don't 100% buy into correspondences that you read about in a book.
Yeah, I like to sleep with mine. Are there other ways you recommend people connecting with the particular energy of the crystal they have?
Yeah, wearing them, putting them in a mojo bag, sleeping with them is great. Meditating with them is wonderful. There's lots of different ways of making that connection. Crystal grids, bringing them into your environment, just like you just want your living space to be more of a loving place, then put a big rose quartz sphere in your living space. Or you want your bedroom to be more romantic, put some garnet under the bed, or some, again, rose quartz would be a good one. I try to pick easy to get, inexpensive stones, because I don't like putting exotic ones out there like Bixbyte, which is a gorgeous crystal if you want to look it up. It's super expensive, and I haven't even been able to get a piece of it for myself yet. But crystals that are easy to find, that kind of thing. Putting a grid in a foyer space to transmute negative energy when people come into your home is a great thing to do. So there's lots of different ways of working with them.
I have to read this because it's long, but I want to say the name of your book, which is Crystal Grids, How and Why They Work, a science-based yet practical guide. And I am totally going to get this book. You had me at the word science, really. Because I like the science explanation behind these things. And how is that, being a scientifically minded person, a person with a master's degree in science, and then getting into metaphysics? Are all your scientist friends like scoffing at you and thinking you're crazy? Or, yeah? But you do it anyway. I love that.
Which is why when people want scientists to back up a lot of this metaphysical stuff, it's hard to find. I'm real good at researching it out and finding it. I love doing that, but it's hard to find because the academics do get shunned. Once you open the door to metaphysics, the academics get, oh, you're going down that route. Sell out, or they turn their nose up at you. You'll lose your tenure if you're working in a university. So a lot of academics will, get their PhD, teach in a university, do their research, and then at the end of their career turn to the metaphysics, which they knew was the backbone all along, like Dr. William Tiller, who's an amazing physicist. And at the end of his career, he said, screw it, I don't care. He wrote a whole bunch of books taking physics and metaphysics and putting them together. And he still teaches, because what are they going to do to him at this point? He's been a department head. It doesn't matter. He's been published and he reached that peak of his career, so he can do what he wants. And there's a lot of academics doing it that way. But that's certainly a reality where you do get shunned. I mean, I was teased every day, but I didn't care. I wasn't working at a university. If I worked at a university, it certainly would be more high stakes and it wouldn't be so funny. It would be more serious. You would have people stabbing you in the back to get you out.
Wow.
So,
well,
and I don't know why that is.
I love that about you. My favorite people dance to the beat of their own drum, It shows they're listening to their own truth and following, their spirit instead of what is expected of them,
That's why I like you so much, because I love people that, and don't take this in a bad way, I love people that are eccentric and are different and not acting and dressing and looking and doing everything like everybody else, because how boring.
Yes.
It's so boring. We need some excitement and differences is what makes everything so wonderful and great.
Absolutely. And I have the most bizarre, speaking of eccentric, idea, but I'm going to throw it out at you anyway. Two of my favorite people, one is Daniel Vitalis, one is Sierra Bender. They're both very different types of people, but they charge a lot of money. They lead these kind of adventures in Peru or various places, and Daniel teaches people about the herbs, and Sierra is all about goddess energy. I think one day, as your business progresses, I know it's fairly new, you should take us all along on crystal excavations, where we get to go see these people that hand mined and maybe hand mined a crystal ourselves. I think you'd be awesome at teaching in that environment, and it would be fun. If I had the money, I would sign up.
Thanks. That sounds like fun. Actually, I thought about it, but I thought a lot of people would probably be turned off because they would, it's not as glamorous as people think it is. It's pretty dirty. Whatever clothes you wear in there, they're not coming out clean. You're not going to throw it in the wash. They're not going to be pretty anymore. You're going to be sweaty and dirty, and it's not fun. I mean, I don't love it. I'd rather miners mine it. I mean, I would love to be able to go do that around here, some of the time, but I certainly wouldn't want that as my full-time job. I mean, it's hard work, it's definitely, I like leaving the mining up to the miners and the collectors. It's heavy-duty stuff. I physically probably couldn't do it all day, Certain places are easier, like going to Ron Coleman's mine. That would probably be pretty cool, and because they're just there in the clay, you don't have to get down into those mountains and, wheel yourself in and all that kind of stuff. It's not quite that arduous, but that does sound like a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't know, something to think about.
Where can we tell people to find you for the very few people watching this video who don't know? Where do we go to find the Hibiscus Moon Crystal Academy and take your classes and buy your book and all that good stuff?
Well, my book is on Amazon, so you can just type in Crystal Grids on Amazon, and you could do Kindle version or regular on there. And I'm on hibiscusmooncrystalacademy.com. That's my website. And if you want a free Creating Sacred Space with Crystals e-kit, you could sign up to my newsletter on my website at the top of the website, and the kit will come to you in the email.
Oh, neat. What is your newsletter? What's the style of your newsletter? What kind of information do people get?
I pretty much, I give an article. It's usually once a week, and I'll have an article in there about something crystal related, something sparkly related, and this will definitely be turning into a blog post. I have to finish that blog post. I told you before.
I know. Send it to me. Send it to me. I will link to it at the bottom of this, or I'll just keep an eye out for it.
Finished. Yeah, I need to do that because people ask about this so much, and this way I can refer to this. So I'm so grateful to you for bringing this topic up and bringing it into light and forcing me to finally discuss it and bring all my thoughts together on it. I still don't know if they're all together, but somewhat of a thought. But anyway, so a blog post would be in the email, and then what else? Usually a charity that I'll feature, and some other news, upcoming events or something like that. Well, that's something else I wanted to talk about. Not to keep beating a dead horse, but when I bring up the topics, I hope, and I'm going to post about it again on my Facebook about the conflict minerals, that people do get involved and share it. And I hope people are as passionate about it as they are about. See, I don't know, and I'm bringing this question up because I want to see what is it that brought out all this passion. Some people who consider themselves environmentalists, like myself, got really into being against crystals when the information isn't there to back that up. Without researching, without finding out more information about it, no land is being blasted away for crystals. But yet when we have land being blasted away for diamonds and for the innards of our computers, we're willing to ignore that and keep typing away on our computers and tell everybody how bad they are for collecting crystals. And maybe it was just a lack of information, but I hope that now that the information is out there, that we're just as passionate about having people find out about conflict minerals, where the real raping of the land and the people is happening, and that we inform these technology companies that we're not going to buy their products because it's our dollar and only our dollar that's going to cause change, that we're not going to buy their products if they don't change how they're doing things.
Yeah, well, thanks for pointing all of us who are mulling this over in our heads in that direction. I definitely am going to look more into that personally. And you vote with your dollar. That's how you make a difference in today's world. Thank you so much for doing this. This is one of the most interesting, awesome interviews I've ever done. So
I love this. My heart is beating out of my chest right now because I am so passionate right now about this. I hope you guys can understand how passionate I am about educating everybody, making sure that we're making informed decisions, and that we have information and research to back up what we're saying and doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Everybody, go visit Hibiscus Moon Crystal Academy.
Thanks, Joanna.
Yay, much love. Peace.
Bye.